All right, we are live. Welcome to tonight's free YouTube live stream. Just a little bit of market review here today. Just kind of want to jump in and just take a look and see how the futures are looking. Looks like they're up again. So we'll see if those hold throughout the night, right? We've seen how reliable that's been. We did have a gap up yesterday, or we did have futures green yesterday, and then gap up today, and then of course faded back in, and now. Looks like it's gearing up to do the same thing. So just keep in mind, tomorrow is a critical day. Amazing how all this stuff happens. Right at the end of December, right at the end of the year, right when we've breached an entire year's worth of of a channel here on the S&P. It's finally broke down below, below the bottom of the channel, broken down below the pitchfork, broken down below the reaction line. Now we're in this new space down here, and so it seems like they're trying to recover it a little bit with this gap up, or with the futures up right here. But we just have to see how much strength it gets. We've looked at the wave count here before. We have a 1, ABC 2, right, and then 1, 2, 3. So we are in a wave 3 of 3 down, and this could be potentially very powerful, right? There's no limit really to how far down it can go. If you look at larger time frame pitchfork, right, I've drawn this one from the beginning of the year pivot all the way to the high of the year, essentially to this pivot here, and what we're seeing is breakdown below this median line, and potentially by the end of the year, what does this look like, 2300 ish. So it could happen. Not saying it's going to happen. There could get some strength. We could start seeing some positive stuff going on, but you're not seeing too much, right? So we've got earnings. Let's just skip over here real quick. Earnings, the big ones for tomorrow. To look at our 15 orb method, right? We've got FedEx. Oh, look at those crazy wicks on that. So just been nuts here. Would have been very difficult to trade after hours. Definitely not. Well, if you could have gotten in and out here, these bars are huge, right? $11 bars. Every time it came down, you could have bought it and made it, 11 times 30 points just doing that. But chances are it wasn't that easy. So FedEx looks like it's going to be gapping down. Had some pretty rough numbers. We've got Micron coming up. That's gapping down. This thing has been just getting beat up almost every chance it has. Every time it gets a new high, or every time it rips, right? Just been straight down here. Up, you could just short any type of rally it ever had. And so now, let's just take a look and see if there's any. So it's gapping down to, we're about 31 right now, so we're at that level. Let's see if there's any gaps that it could be filling. There is a gap right here. And so that is at 35, so that's pretty high up there comparatively. Any other gaps going on? There is a gap down here, and that is at 26. So we are so Micron is going to be gapping in this range here between a gap above and a gap below. So this should be really interesting. Obviously, the 15 orb method, you do it on earnings. If we we should gap down, we look to trade it to the downside after the first 15 minutes. And you guys have seen this plenty of times how it works. Worked on Costco on Friday. It just works on and when it works, it works well. That's the thing, is you let everything flush out in the first 15 minutes, and then you take the direction of the trade. And this way you don't have to worry about the open, and getting caught up all in that. And look, if that first 15-minute bar is $10 or 10 points, and then the next, after that, after you catch the orb, you get 5 points. 5 points is good on any day, and no matter what you trade, right? So, don't feel bad about missing the first 10. If you still catch 5 of it, that's great, right? And you don't have to worry about all the craziness about guessing the direction. You just take the direction of which it shows you. So, look at that, how it tagged that 50 MA came right back in too. So actually, that looks pretty close to one of the candlestick formations I wanted to talk about tonight. So the candlestick formation is very rare. It's a rare formation. It's called the upside gap two crows method. Okay, and so basically, I've got a link in Investopedia that kind of describes it. That'll be at the bottom of the YouTube explanation. But I wanted to just kind of talk about it real quick. So don't see it too clear right here. What it is if you gap up and go red, right? So here is like essentially, gap up here, you go red, and the next bar is a red bar down. This is actually a little bit better, and it kind of gaps above it. So here basically, you gap up, you have a real body that's red, so it gapped up, it stays red, and the next day it gaps up again above that, and this is a perfect example right here. So this is an upside gap, 2 crows. Okay, so 2 red bars, gap up the first one, right, turns red, gap up the next day, turns red. It's a 2-3 bar set. The first bar is usually big green bar, gap up, red. The next one is a little bit more red, and usually engulfs the real body. Ideally engulfs the previous real body, right? And so from there is a short, right? So you can take the wick here down, right? It didn't trigger the next day, but it triggered the following day, right? But you also had an inside day reversal hammer. So when you start seeing these type of things, they're very rare, but if you see it, look for a good opportunity to go short, and this gave it to you right here, right? Gapped up, and you could have taken that down and held it from $60 all the way down to $57. And on Micron, that's pretty good. So keep an eye out for the upside gap to Black Crow setup. Very rare, but they usually happen at the top of some sort of at the top of a trend. It's a reversal trade. I thought I saw one in Caterpillar earlier. I was kind of just skimming through it. A little bit there, but not so much. There was one. Anyway, that MU one was perfect. I just saw it and wasn't even planning on using it as an example. Let's look in here. Yeah, that didn't quite trigger. I saw this here. This one could have worked here. So gap up, right? Turns red. Next one engulfs and is down, and you could have shorted that there at 156, all the way to 1. So 3 points right there. And just see if there's another one here. Gapped up, right? Red. Didn't quite gap up the next day, but still red. That was good for 153, 1 to 150. So another 3 points. Here, I mean, technically, right? Gap up, red. Didn't gap above it, but nice big red bar, and you could have shorted that there. 128, right? All the way down to 123. So 5-point move on that one. So just keep an eye open for that. That one on MU is the best looking one too. So that really worked out. So we have MU tomorrow, and then we've got one more that actually was positive. We'll see if we can hold on to that, and that's JBL, right? So remove that. Old drawings, obviously. I looked at this at some point. I think I used to like to trade this one. Okay, so that's gapping up, right? So we'll look. So futures are pointing up and things are strong. This is one to go to tomorrow, right? Look for a 15-minute orb to the upside. This one trades really well. If I had lines on it, that means I traded this a long time ago, and it was fun to trade at the time. So look for a 15-minute orb on this one tomorrow. So this is those. So that's a new candlestick method that we talked about, the upside gap, 2 crows. And what I want to do is, and we looked at 3 15-minute orb ones that should be pretty good for tomorrow on earnings. So what I want to do real quick is, if we can, I want to go over that 60-minute anchor on Facebook, but I want to do an on-demand on it. So I'm going to go over here, and I highly recommend, especially on the weekend, if you have time, is practice doing these methods using on-demand, right? I mean, you don't, when you play sports, right? You don't go into game time, right, into game day unless you go to practice, right? You practice a bunch, right? Shoot a bunch of hoops or whatever the case is. And if it's tennis, right, Clayton, if you just go into a match without practicing and training and everything. So you got to do it. So that's what this on-demand is great in Thinkorswim. So all you do is you click on the on-demand button and you go to the date that you want to practice with. So I just want to show you the 60-minute orb on Facebook, and we'll trade that from today. All the data should be in there. So today was 12/18. Does it have today's date? I want to do the 15-minute orb from today. I guess you have to wait a week or something for it to show up, for the data to save in the on-demand. Okay, but that's fine. We had let me just go back to the prior game plans. I just find one from the other day. Thought we were going to be able to catch Facebook with that, but let me see. So I could have done any time last week, right? So let's see, last Friday. Okay, I remember that didn't work well. All right, so Twitter from last Thursday. We had a 60-minute anchor on that one. So let's go last Thursday. Twitter. We'll go 09. Let's just say 29. We'll give it 30 seconds. Okay, so we'll go there. Okay, and what did we have? We'll go Twitter. Okay, so this one here, right? So here, we had an inside 60, and it is okay. There, it's going. All right, so we had an inside 60 anchor on Twitter, and what that is, right, is we and yeah, they could have traded it here too. I remember that one. It came back in, tried to test it, and then launch, right? So here we'll see what it does, right? So you had a basically a shooter under the VWAP, right? And so now we'll see where we open. It looks like futures were somewhat pointing up, so it's probably going to gap up a little bit. And what we'll do is if we're gapping in the middle of the range, we'll take it long, right, over a break of that inside bar, right? So here we go. So it is opening in the middle of the range, right? This is where everybody's all nervous and everything at the open, which way is it going to go, which way is it going to go. It doesn't matter. You're trading it just like you would trade an inside 60, right? So that just popped up there showing that, no, it's inside. And then it looks like it's going to maybe attempt to do a break here. Futures were green, right? I can't really see which direction they're pointing right now. But, you know, I would look to trade this long here. If here it's staying over the VWAP, I would look to trade a break of this reversed. Now it's coming back down. These guys are coming back in a little bit, and there. I mean, you can see it just skipped over it. But see how where you would have entered if it was looking weak. Is this thing going super fast? If it was really weak, right? You would have looked to have scalped that. At least try to scalp that short as it broke that inside 60 to the downside, and it was under the VWAP. Now it came back in, so you would have covered by now, right? So now it's back in. Let's see how it handles it again. All right, came back in the range. Back up. So still, now it's back within the 60 bar. If it comes back down again, that's a good short right there. That'd be 2 attempts. There. So you would have entered right there, right? And you would have had a conditional order of some sort. Or you could have just hit a button and entered short. And then boom. So now you're short, right? If it's 36.22 all the way down to 35.85. So, you know, 40 cents or so on Twitter at the open is pretty good. 40 cents on Twitter at any time, it was pretty good. But that was 1,000 shares, $400 right at the open, whatever the case was. Or you could have done, scaled in, with some options, whatever, because Twitter options are pretty good. So ultimately, let's just step forward and see where it ended up. Ended up coming back in, but you would have already banked profit and moved your stop to profit. Came back down again. Down, and let's see where we were. Let's just say where we're at, like 1 o'clock. Boom! Look at that, perfect. So even if you held the whole time and just kept your stop up here, and then just lowered your stop to the top of each next bar, you would have gone all the way from 36.22 all the way down to 35.22. So a whole point, off of Twitter right there. And let's just see where it closed at the end of the day. End of the day, 4 o'clock. Let's see where it ended up. Yep. So look at that. It ended up hitting, I believe, a trigger line. So let's zoom out and just look multiple time frames, right? Oh no, that was not a trigger line. It was a trend line off of these two. Well, actually, it was a trigger line because it was both a trigger line and a trend line. So because you had the pitchfork right here, right, and then the trigger line is here to here, right? And I actually remember this day now. But yeah, it came up and it hit that trigger line to the tick and then reversed, and you can see how it did that. Perfect short right? It was overextended anyway, right? Inside 60 shooter, which is, a bearish, very, if you were just trading this on a regular day, you would look to short that anyway. Never took out the top of it, and then you short it there, and then it hits the trigger line, which is a perfect target, and then it reversed off of that. So, wanted to show you guys today's Facebook trade, but I can just show you real quick. Let me get out of OnDemand. All I do is click this. Now we're back in present day reality. Go to Facebook for today, and then yesterday, Facebook was on the Facebook was on the inside 60 orb list, and so I'll just kind of like click through this way. So it was inside 60, right? It opened, right? Opened here, right? Went up a little bit, came back in, tested the top of this. So you're looking, you're like, okay, am I going to short this? Is it going to go? No, it's reversing. I'm going to go long, right? And even if you just missed it a little bit, you could have gone long up here, right? Keep your stop at the bottom of this bar, or at the very lowest at the bottom of this bar, right? And then it just launched, right? And then where did it go from there? Paused. I probably would have gotten out somewhere here as it was coming back in. I would have been like, oh, I don't want to be in it. But if you're real profitable, right, you could have just waited till this bar closed. Maybe set a stop below the VWAP right here. You still would have been up 140 to 140, 160. So you'd have been up a point and a half. Came back in. Okay, done. Green. You move your stop at the bottom of that bar. Next one's up. Move your stop to the bottom of that bar. Next one's up. Move your stop to the bottom of that bar. So you're 144 from 140. So you're already up 4 points. Oh, came back in and stopped you out. So there you go. 4-point trade off of Facebook today, just using the 60 anchors. So I wanted to show that one live, but it's fun doing the on-demand. So you should definitely practice these. Go back through and in previous days where there was where you see a 60 anchor, and it doesn't just have to be an inside, right? You could show. If it had like a hammer from the previous day, or if it had one of the Yori Kitties that we talked about, or if it had a shooting star or something like that, you can look how you would have traded that, because you would trade it just like you did intraday, right? You just have a little more volatility right at the open, which can give you more movement in the direction of the trade that you want to do. So those are those. Today was a pretty crazy trading day. So it was just tough day altogether. I think we got a bunch of inside days. Facebook went. Did Facebook go inside today? Yeah. Today. No, Facebook did not go inside. Apple went inside. Apple with the gapple today. Yeah. So. Apple gave us an inside day, so I think Amazon had an inside day, so we got some really interesting stuff to look at tomorrow into the Fed, and let's see, we got FedEx too on the docket. So FedEx, we're looking at this yesterday. It looked like it could have potentially bounced here, but instead it is gapping down to 174. So it's gapping below this level. Let's see if there's any open gaps for it to fill. There's a big one right here. And there's a little one right here, high of 175.73. So we're gapping down here. So that means there's a gap below and a gap above. So you could try trading the reversal. So just look at your 15-minute orb. Wait till that closes. See if you can fill this gap here all the way up to 176. Or and then JBL's gapping up to 24. So it's somewhere in this area. It doesn't look like too much activity. The other thing it's got potentially tomorrow, it looks like it take out a couple pivots. You have a pivot here and a pivot here. And there's a small gap right here at 24.40. So we're gapping above that. So just be careful. It might come down and then reverse back up. So just watch your 15-minute orb on that one. So a lot of action tomorrow. Even though there's only 3 that are going to be on the 15 orb list, unless there's some major news in the morning. There's all of them have some potential to the upside or to the downside. So definitely check those out. And pretty much at this point, that's all I got. If you have any questions, chart requests, feel free. Don't be shy. You can plug them in the chat window, and I'll get to as many as I can. Hopefully, sometimes I usually get to as many as I can. So what's going on, Thalasi? How are you? Shirley, how are you? Hope everybody's doing good. Clayton, good to see you. Yep, always got to practice. That's the deal. So can you do on-demand on SPX as well? Yeah. So let's do SPX on a different night. But hopefully that helped. You could just see how Twitter traded on that one, and we'll look at at more SPX stuff too, especially off of the hourly, right? So yesterday was perfect on the hourly, perfect shorts available, right? Inside 60, break to the downside, all the way down. Today it took a while. I don't think that was quite a double inside. I remember it didn't hit that till like a penny. Yeah, that was 25.72.43, 25.72.45. 2 pennies above, didn't go quite inside, but then it went inside here, and then right there, a break of 25.60 to the downside. It's so easy when you look at this at the end of the day, because we were looking at this all day, and sometimes it's like, oh, do I short? But 25.60 to the downside, all the way down to 25.28. So a good 30-point move to the downside right there. So before it finally bounced, and guess where it bounced? Right at yesterday's lows. So imagine that. And then it had a pretty good bounce too. So, but yeah, we'll definitely do SPX on a different day too. What we'll do is we'll look and see. Just let me know if you see like an inside 60 bar to close, like a 60 anchor to close or something like that, and then we'll definitely do an on-demand on that. Or something else interesting. I mean, that was a gap, so it's kind of tough to do there. Nugget, yeah. I mean, a lot of these gold ones are really starting to shape up, right? I mean, gosh, when you look at those days, it's just phenomenal. Had a real good day today. So yeah, so Nugget is down there. Okay, yeah. So the monthly is now turned green. Back over that 5MA. I'm assuming the week is green too. Sorry, it's just tough to get in on this. Skip to the day. Yeah, another type cup and handle type situation. Breakout here. I think we might have even talked about this at one point, but yeah, a break of that level right there was really good today. 17.16 back to 17.69, and then let's see, we've got. Let's see if we can do a pitchfork here. Let's do it from the low to there. Right there. Not too bad. So there's Nugget right there. Right? Up, pivot, down, pivot, up, down, pivot, up, pivot, middle of the range, up. Now is it going to pivot or is it going to break through? If it pivots, look a couple hours in, see if it pivots, and you might get some downside, right? So especially if the market's going up, the golds are probably going to go down. It's looking like a little bit of a potential, wave. Would have been a strange one. That would have been a big. This could have worked. So 1, 2, right? Wave, right? 1, 2, boom, 3, A, B, C, 4, and then 5, and you've got RSI divergence right here, right there, and might have put in a wave 5 top, so you might see like a a correction back to the downside here. So see, that's just on the shorter term time frame, but something to keep in mind. Possibly a reversal. It does look strong, right? And it did give a a nice breakout, but it might want to come back in, especially for some reason the market gets a crazy rally tomorrow after if Powell says all the right words and the market likes it, right? It's kind of funny. A friend of mine said I don't watch CNBC so much, but a friend of mine said that all these different opinions on CNBC about they're going to sell the news. It's already cooked in. I mean, it could go up, could go down, could go either way. Either way, it's just like earnings. It's a binary event. So just be careful trading tomorrow into it, right? There might be something good to trade at the open, but I would wait to see what happens afterward. Keep an eye out too on these double inside days or these inside days, right? So if you guys like trading, something like Amazon, right? That's got an inside day, right? And it's right at this median line, right? So it's everything about it is saying indecision, right? The inside day is saying indecision. The fact that you're at the median line now. Oh, remember that break of the triangle? Oh, I missed that. But anyway, but right now everything's saying, indecision. and so it needs to decide which way it's going to go. So, but here, what you want to do is look to take the inside day to the upside or downside if it doesn't do it before Powell speaks. And so if the market starts going up, right, after he talks, watch these inside days. Like Apple's a good one to watch too. Very, very tuned into the market. Amazon's good to watch. So, so here, right, inside day. So if he's talking and we're around here and everything's good, look for that break to the upside. And if it breaks to the upside, you've got a gap to fill right there, and then a nice range to fill, right? If it does, if it's bad news, right, look to trade that inside day to the down, 1505, potentially all the way down to 1424. So, so we just have to see. We just see what he says. So it'll definitely be interesting. So just be careful tomorrow. Don't overtrade it, right? And just look to see what kind of direction you have. Have your kind of your game plan set up beforehand. If things start ripping, know what you want to go to. If things start puking, know what you want to short. Right? Don't just short blindly. Have a plan in place. So that's all I got. Not as long as last night. I was a little long-winded last night, I think, but we covered a lot of good ground yesterday. So today, I think we went over, trading the 60 anchor. We went over trading Twitter on the 60 anchor. We learned about the upside gap 2 crows, and we went over some game plan stuff. Oh, we got some more stuff. How long have I been trading options? What's going on at SXC Fitness, New York? So I've been trading on and off. For a little while, but nothing really seriously except for really just over the last year. I studied for like a year beforehand, just kind of watching a couple years beforehand, just kind of watching markets and studying trading videos and things like that. And then I kind of jumped into it kind of like a little bit while I was at work. Just kind of got experimenting. Day off I had, I'd trade, and then I ended up getting laid off and didn't go on unemployment and, was looking for a job and all that stuff. And so while I was doing that, I actually was trading full-time from home and was able to pay bills and, do that type of stuff. And but what I learned, it gets a lot more stressful, right? When you're at work, like it's no big deal. It's like you can take a few losses if you need to. It's okay. You got a paycheck coming, right? But like when you're doing it full-time, to pay the bills, that's where risk really comes into play, right? So it's like you don't want to lose money, right? Because you just want to make money because you want to pay bills, you want to feed your family, pay your house payment or whatever the case is, and you really focus in on only the type of setups that work for you, right? And so back in the day, I used to experiment with a lot of stuff, and so but now I just kind of hone in on just a couple type stocks that I like. So like the FANG stocks, and Dow stocks, they usually trade really well in options, things like that. And then and you just find out what works for you, right? And that's why I always say, minimize your losses. Don't let a trade go against you at the point where you're really losing money, right? If it's not working, that means the setup didn't work. So get out, right? The best setups are going to work right away. And you'll see that. Like I've had this last 3 weeks, I've had maybe say maybe I make like 2 trades a day or something like that, but I've only had 4 trades that really worked, and kind of outweighed everything, right? And so and a lot of them were only with just like 1 put, right? Like I think I did yesterday was a good day with what is it, Broadcom, right? 1 put. It was no, I think I did like 5 puts on it. But anyway, a couple, you make several $100s on that. That's a good trade, right? And so, but there are a couple good trades this month that were just the perfect setup, right? So yeah, good. I'll get to these other chart requests surely in a second. I just want to kind of see. So good books, mentor resources. I mean, definitely they've got like. So for books, if you want to like just no options, right? There's, like the Options Bible. But I mean, you can the visual guide books that Bloomberg does are really good to give you an overview of options and kind of how they work. But really, the key is finding patterns and setups that work for you. And a couple of the visual guys are really good. Jeff Cooper's book is really good on hit and run trading. He gives you a handful of just candlestick setups that really work well, and then you just kind of look and kind of hone your own style based on those. As for mentors, I've pretty much tried every service that's out there, and that's kind of why I do this, is because I've spent so much money on services and gurus and stuff like that. So you gain a lot from it, but it turns out I never really trade much of their ideas. I just kind of watch and see what they do, and because trading is an individual thing, right? So that's why I don't really put out trades, but I just kind of offer like game plan ideas and show setups and things like that, so that so you can kind of find your own stuff. Like I got an awesome tweet today from somebody who a private message from somebody who found a trade and just wanted me to take a look at it and see what I look at. I said, yeah, this looks really good, to the short side. And then they did it on their own and were able to make like a 40% trade on it, and that's awesome. I'd rather help empower people to get better, right? And so, yep, Target 2, that's what's going on. Yeah, AIG, 1 hour inside reverse hammer. That's exactly it. And I can pull it up real quick. Yeah, so AIG was perfect. Yep, so here, AIG actually ended up doing like a double inside 60, right? And this was nowhere would have been on my watch list, but it looked really good, right? Market was kind of coming in. So you had an inside 60 right here, right? And then it gave you a double inside. So like I got, you tweeted me earlier, and it was like, okay, yeah, that looks good. It looks real bearish. It was up here at the time. Then it came in, put inside 60, and then the next one went double inside 60, both under the view up, still showing like a nice downward movement. And so what happened is a nice break there, 38.16, and then it went all the way down to 37.30. I mean, that was a great trade right there, right? I mean, it was perfect. So, so good job on that one. That was awesome. So yeah, so mentors. I mean, there's don't look for anybody who's trying to push anything on you, to sell you anything, right? I mean, there's a couple guys that have paid for services out there, like Traders Dewey's got one, but he offers really good education, type ideas. He's just a good guy. I follow him because I always learn something kind of interesting from him, something new. You just gotta kind of go with what you feel is right? Like if somebody feels like somebody's selling something to you, you don't want to do it, right? So you're probably not going to learn as much as you want. If you get gimmicky emails and things like that, you just don't want to be a part of that. But there's a lot of good education programs out there that you can do. Just don't spend too much money on it, right? There's a lot of it just comes with sharing and reading and looking at charts and just practice, right? So go through OnDemand and try strategies that work for you, right? So, and then, there's a technical analysis of financial markets. There's a, how to swing trade books that are out there that are good. So just look for the setups that work for you in your comfort zone, right? But number one is know how to size your risk, right? And know where your stop would be, but really, really think out, like, if I get stopped out, what am I going to do? Yeah, K-Pack is awesome, man. So he's been free like forever. Now he's got like a service, but he still puts a lot of great free stuff out there, and he really draws some really clean trend lines and charts, and is very disciplined. And so not all, like anybody, not everything works, but if it doesn't work, you need to know when to get out without getting hurt, and then you need to know how to let the winners run and move your stops up and preserve your profits, right? So okay, anyway, hopefully that's it. But yeah, feel free to tweet me later, and I'll send you like some links to some good books and stuff like that. And I do recommend Elliott Wave, understanding Elliott Wave theory. It's a little more complicated and it takes a while, but it is good for understanding what's going on with the markets behind the, where price is coming from. Okay, let's see, TSU real quick. Let's get to that. Nice move today on TSU. So yeah, so we had like sort of this another cup and handle, kind of tested that breakout point again. So let's see if we get back over that 1590 and maybe get a push up a point there on that. Nice kind of waves that are working on. Looks like it's maybe putting in a pivot here on the monthly. Let's check out Pitchfork World. Of course, this ADR is a little choppy looking, but let's just see. Maybe something like that. So just, just kind of keep it's kind of in the middle of the range, right? So I mean, it really needs to pop out over here to get up here. Not like it's going to take that pivot right away, but if it's pivoting, just the way it's kind of been going, it's kind of up, kind of pivot down. So it might be kind of looking to curl over a little bit too. So just keep an eye on that one. Let's see, KL. Kirkland Lake Gold, yeah, here's another gold miner. Looking good. Nice breakout. I mean, there's like nothing stopping this guy. Total beast mode, breakout mode. I mean, you had like a cup here, that handle broke again over here, came back up, paused, back up again. I mean, you might consolidate a little bit, but I mean, this just is looking super duper strong. Look at that, super strong. So, I was just going up, but it looks like, I mean, RSI is coming back up too, so it might get some more movement. Just, keep an eye on it. I mean, it looks solid. So, yeah, so Option Sniper, I mean, he's the man. I don't know what to say. I mean, the guy's one of the best traders I've ever seen, and he puts these free thoughts out there that are incredible. He's helped my trading too. I mean, just hone things in, be like, because you have your own strategy, and then you look at sometimes what other guys are putting out there, and you're like, okay, that really worked. What could I have done to hone my strategy to make that work for me, right? And so he always puts out great stuff. I think like anybody, it's been a pretty crazy market right now, so I think he's still trying to get a grip on what's going on here, but he's putting all the right stuff out there. He knows Fed's tomorrow, and it gets pretty choppy. So yeah, man, my pleasure, man. Thanks for jumping in and putting your thoughts out there. SXC. Clayton started to read that book on Elliott Wave pre-recommendation. I think anyone who wants to trade seriously should look into it. Absolutely, man. Elliott Wave is changing the way I'm looking at trading. That was one of the reasons why I took Apple long into the close yesterday when everybody was shorting into the close. It just looked like it was ready. When you combine these things with different tools, things can really work, right? And Elliott Wave is legit. I mean, I've never really seen it disproved. The only trick with it is understanding where the count really is, right? Problem is that we can get into we can trick ourselves, right, into counting waves based on our bias, and without really truly giving counter perspectives on what alternate counts might be. So sometimes we force ourselves to assume what's happening instead of what's actually happening, right? Because we want something to go up, we might say, oh no, this is a wave 2 reversal or something like that. So you got to trade what's actually there. You got to label what's actually there. Yeah. So Elliott Wave. It's Elliott Wave Principle by Frost and Prechter. So yeah, exactly. Can forget about A. Yeah, A is gonna be awesome, right? So let's see. Do you use NQES VIX as reference while trading? Yes. And so that's, if you go to my pinned tweet on Twitter, you'll see I watch these guys. Not to say that they have any edge over the regular indexes, whatever the case is. I just like to just use them as a guide. And so you'll see when I tweet out with the Spark charts from TOS app, I look at those to see what kind of direction things are going, right? If all these guys are pointing up and the VIX is pointing down, I'm going to look for a long setup, right? For the most part, if you get a feel for the market, what's going on. But if everything's starting to turn up, VIX is starting to turn down. Now, obviously, we've been in a pretty choppy market right now, but I'm going to look to go longs. Now, if they're all pointing down and the VIX is pointing up, I'm going to look for a short, right? So they do make a good reference. They're just a quick gauge to see if it makes sense to go long. I mean, if they're all pointing down and the VIX is pointing up, you probably don't want to take that inside 60 to the upside, right? Until you get some sort of reversal confirmation on those guys, right? Because you don't want to go against the market. So PVG. Premium resources, okay. Daily looks good, right? So I was watching might consolidate here for a little bit, but nice couple days on that. The week, of course, is green. It had an inside week, right? Kind of took it up, came back in, and then it broke out. Monthly is green. So these are all good. Nice climb up. That was a nice move right there. See this? Anytime you get a big move on volume like that, right? And then that's the nice follow through right there. I also got looked on a 15-minute orb just for instance. So even if, you know, right there, 787, you could have traded that 15 orb up all the way up to 813, and then all the way up here to 846 the next day. So yeah, that one is looking good. Let's see what the pitchfork looks like. Right there. It could be interesting. Just watch out. Might pivot a little. Like I said, it might consolidate a little bit, kind of pivot, you know, come back in. So just be careful. But yeah, it looks good. Yeah. So thoughts on light crude oil? Thoughts are it's been getting demolished. I don't know how much more it's got left in it. Let's see. Let's look at the daily. So we obviously had a noticeable high here. You know, if you're just kind of looking for waves, you know, you might see, let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you might have a wave 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, 1, 2, 3. So wave 3, 4, 5. Might have put in a 5 wave. A, B might be coming. You know, might be ready to correct a little bit here. I mean, so it's just tough to say, but yeah, it's just been getting demolished. So I mean, it's gonna have to do something eventually, right? So, but yeah, I mean, you look at the MACD here, right? You've got your signal line crossing back over, stochastics are pointing down. RSI does have some divergence here, but that needs to really kind of curl over, you know, to show any sort of indication that this thing is reversing. So definitely interesting stuff. Pretty wild. I think it is helping gas prices though, so that's a good thing. Let's see, we got WPM. Oh, nice gap up. So WPM, we've got a green month. I tell you, you find these all these full time frame continuity the upside ones. Nice uptrend here. And what was this yesterday, right? This was the Yorikiri from yesterday, right? So this weekly, if it closes like this, right, you've got yourself that perfect kind of candle, right? So that's a bullish signal. We saw that on Apple Day on the hourlies, but it never got any follow through on it. So it just needs that follow through. But I like how it's pierced now the weekly 250 moving averages. Everything's curling up. Daily is green. Today would have been the day to catch it. Inside day, right, and then a break to the upside. So that inside day, 1928 all the way up to $20. So nice there. Probably going to consolidate a little bit, my guess. Did it fill this gap here? Yeah, filled that gap, kind of came back in. It's probably going to consolidate for a little bit, more than likely. But nice gap up the other day. So yeah, just give it some time to digest that move. But good stuff as always, Shirley. How'd your DM do today, by the way? Yep, look at that right there. Oh, beautiful. It's almost time to go long on this. Keep an eye on it. I'll put an alert on it. Testing the bottom of the channel. That was a nice move. So things look good tomorrow, and if like energy stocks look good, boom, could be a good one. KWAB had a huge 41 call volume for 1212. Oh, nice. Chat internet. Let's see. 1221. Oh yeah, it did. You're not kidding. Somebody's bullish on this thing. Wow. Definitely worth keeping an eye on. What's the chart look like? Anything interesting? Jumpy. Guess Unless they're expecting some sort of trade deal. It does look like it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. Potential reversal. Could be an ending diagonal. Not really. Like a triangle, if anything. Does look interesting, though. I will say that. But that's a 20,000 calls on it. It's pretty bullish. This is a right, a bearish engulfing month, right? The real body here is over that real body. Down on the week, right? Hit that, kind of hit that trend line up. So yeah, somebody must think this thing is bottomed here. So, but to me, if I was going to go long it, I mean, I know it'd be great to catch it here, to catch the long up. It's got to break out at least, somewhere. Let's go. Got these multiple points. It's got at least, so let's see what it does here, right? We can get out of this 42.50 area, 42.43, then it might be time. But yeah, might be basing here, so just give it some time to consolidate and then break potentially. So nice catch on those options, Glenn. Baba, inside 60. Let's see. Couple rough down days. What's that? Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower low, lower low, lower low. Might be good for a reversal soon. Yeah, nice inside 60 anchor for you. So we'll watch this one tomorrow, definitely. Again, we got Powell tomorrow. So at 2 o'clock, it's Fed day, so just be careful, But yeah, definitely worth watching at the open. So that was a good one. Good one, Jeff. Oh yeah, Shirley's got the best here. Let's see, IBN. ECC Bank. EGG. Ooh, jumpy little thing. I can't trade this. There's no way. The month looks good. Did they do options on this? No, there is an option chain. I mean, it is very illiquid. But it trades. It's got some volume. Millions. It's just tough for me to really evaluate with all the gaps everywhere. Yeah, maybe up, down, up. Maybe it's kind of wanting to come back downish. Maybe we'll see where it gaps down. See where it gaps tomorrow. So, but nice one. Is the hourly close on AIG considered an inside anchor as well, meaning possible reversal? Yeah, let's take a look. Yeah, a possible reversal or possible continuation, right? So now you're still under the VWAP here, right? And so it's sort of like this bar here. Remember how that was inside, kind of an inside shooter right here? It's doing the exact same thing right here. So, but yeah, you can trade a reversal off this one. In fact, if it goes above this tail right here, that is definitely a bullish trigger, right? Because it just showed that this whole setup failed, right? Which means it should get some momentum to the upside. Or let's say you open here, it might be worth an additional short too, right? Because there's still a lot of pivots to take out. It's got the low, the low of the day today. Yesterday's low right here at 37.12. Then you got another one right there at 36.87, right? So it definitely has some further downside potential, right? Now if it breaks the upside, obviously it can work its way back up. So yeah, so just keep an eye on that with that one. How are the options on this one? I think they are pretty reasonable. Yeah, they're not too spready, but yeah, just with this one, just be careful with the open with options. But yeah, it's definitely worth watching and seeing how it handles that tomorrow. So you have a good catch on that. You don't see gaps on yours. It's just Shirley, I just see it's just gaps up, gaps down, gaps up, gaps down. Yeah. Depends on what time frame you're looking at, I think. Chegg. Nice. Got you at 60 anchor right here to work with. See how it's behaving. It's working its way back up, right? We can see here, right? Came up that. Now it's kind of working its way up. Now here's a reaction line right here, right? So it might keep pushing here. My guess is when it gets here, probably going to follow that reaction line back down. So just keep in mind. Or it gets there and gets super strong and breaks, right? It's going to be one or the other. But my guess is probably move up a little bit and then kind of just trace that right back down on Chegg. Great questions tonight. Happy, anybody also, if you're here and you haven't chimed in the past, like don't be afraid to chime in the future. Come with chart requests that maybe you want me to take a look at, or just want to share some thoughts or have any questions about any setups or anything like that. Happy to go over it. In the meantime, thanks, Clayton, man. We always appreciate it, man. You're great. Yeah, lots of great reading, lots of good stuff. Remember, keep studying. Remember your risk first. Minimize losses and preserve profits, right? These are the key things to keep in mind. And hope you guys have a great trading day tomorrow. I think it should be pretty fun with the Fed. Just don't get chopped up before he says anything. Okay. All right, you guys have a great night, and I will catch you next time.